Salvatore, get me an ambulance! What happened to this gringo?
I was going to die on a Texas highway. That thought came to me with surprising clarity as I dragged my battered suitcase down yet another mile of endless asphalt, the sun beating down like God had personal grievances with my existence. 2 days. I hadn't eaten properly in 2 days. The last meal, if you could call it that, had been gas station crackers somewhere outside of Houston, purchased with the last $5 I'd allowed myself to spend before panic about money made spending anything feel like suicide. Nigeria felt like a lifetime ago. Lagos, with its chaos and noise, and the aunt who'd promised to help me get to America, then disappeared the moment I'd arrived. The bus ticket to Dallas I'd scraped together. The certainty that once I reached the city, I'd find work, find housing, find some version of the fresh start everyone promised America offered. Except I hadn't made it to Dallas. The bus had broken down 30 miles outside the city limits. The driver had shrugged, said another bus would come, eventually, and most passengers had called relatives with cars. I'd stood there with my phone showing 3% battery and exactly 0 people to call, watching them all leave until it was just me, the broken bus, and a highway that stretched into heat shimmer and emptiness. So I'd started walking. That was yesterday. Now my feet were blistering through shoes never meant for this kind of journey. My throat was so dry I couldn't remember what swallowing without pain felt like, and the suitcase containing everything I owned in this country had somehow gained 50 pounds since morning. The heat was different here than in Lagos. Drier, meaner. It pressed down on my skull like hands trying to push me into the earth. I should have stopped. Should have found shade, waited for a car, begged for help like my pride had been screaming at me to do for the last 6 hours. But something in me refused. Some stupid, stubborn part of my brain that insisted I'd come too far to fail now, that I'd survived too much to die on a road in a country that barely knew I existed. Then I saw it. The gate. Iron. Massive. Intricate metalwork that probably cost more than my entire family had earned in a year. It rose from the desert like a monument to wealth I couldn't comprehend, attached to stone pillars that marked the entrance to, somewhere, an estate, a ranch. Something too far back from the road for me to see clearly through the heat waves. But there was shade. Beyond those gates, I could see trees. Actual green trees that meant water, meant life, meant maybe, just maybe, someone who'd let me rest long enough to figure out my next move. My vision was starting to blur at the edges. Tunnel vision. I recognized it from the one time I'd gotten severe malaria as a child, that particular narrowing of the world that meant my body was shutting down non-essential functions to keep my brain and heart working. I needed water. I needed food. I needed to stop moving before I collapsed. The gate was maybe 50 yards away. I focused on it, counted steps. 49, 48. The suitcase was dragging now, my arms screaming, but I couldn't let go because everything I owned was in that case, and if I left it, I'd have literally nothing, and 30 yards. My legs felt wrong, distant, like they belonged to someone else and I was just borrowing them. 20 yards. The world tilted slightly. I corrected, kept moving. 10 yards. So close. If I could just reach those gates, press the intercom, ask for help in my best English, the one I'd practiced for months before coming here, surely someone would. 5 yards. My knees buckled. I tried to catch myself, failed, went down hard on the sun-baked asphalt that burned through my jeans immediately. The suitcase clattered beside me, spilling open, my few belongings scattering across the road like evidence of a life that couldn't quite get itself together. I tried to stand, couldn't. My muscles had simply stopped responding to commands. This is it, I thought with strange calm. This is how it ends. I came to America for a better life, and I'm going to die of heat exhaustion 50 yards from someone's fancy gate. The irony would have been funny if I weren't so tired. I heard the gate opening mechanical hum, metal scraping, voices, distant, male, English with accents I couldn't place through the ringing in my ears. Footsteps. Running. Black boots appeared in my rapidly narrowing field of vision. Expensive. The kind of leather that cost more than I'd made in 6 months back home. Then a man's voice sharp. Who the hell is she? More boots. Different style. Someone kneeling beside me, hand touching my face, checking for fever maybe, or just seeing if I was alive. She's burning up. How long you think she's been out here? Doesn't matter, we can't just. Get water, now. That voice. Different from the others. Quieter but carrying weight that made the other men move immediately. Command that didn't need volume. Hands gentle, surprisingly lifted my head. I tried to focus on the face above me, but the sun was behind him, turning him into nothing but shadow and silhouette. "Can you hear me?" The quiet voice again, accented. "Italian, maybe?" I couldn't tell through the fog taking over my brain. I tried to speak. Tried to say I'm sorry for collapsing at your gate. I just needed help. Please don't call the police. I have papers. I'm here legally, please. Nothing came out, just a sound that might have been a whimper. The shadow man said something in Italian too fast and low for me to catch. Then, in English, to someone else. "Joseph, get the car. Saka, grab her things. Boss, we don't know who she is. She's mine now. Simple, final, absolute. Like he was claiming a stray that had wandered onto his property and deciding its fate in the same breath. Take her inside. Wait. Inside? Mine? What did that mean? I tried to process it, tried to understand what was happening, but the world was going dark at the edges. Strong arms slid under my knees and shoulders, lifting me like I weighed nothing. The last thing I registered was the smell-expensive cologne mixing with something else. Gunpowder, maybe. Or just the particular scent of power. Then nothing. I passed out completely in the arms of a stranger whose face I never saw, being carried through gates I'd been trying to reach, into a life I couldn't have imagined even if I'd been conscious enough to try. Later, much later, I'd learn his name. Alessio De Luca. The man every criminal in Texas feared. The Mafia boss who'd just decided I belonged to him. All because I'd been too stubborn to die before reaching his gate. I woke up in silk. That was my first coherent thought, not where am I or what happened, but this fabric against my skin is silk and I've never touched anything this expensive in my life. My second thought was, this isn't a hospital. The ceiling above me was ornate, hand-carved wood beams, the kind you saw in magazines about homes regular people would never afford. Sunlight cut across marble floors so polished I could see my reflection. The bed I was in could have fit 4 people comfortably. I sat up slowly, head pounding, and realized I was wearing a robe I definitely hadn't owned yesterday. Cream-colored, also silk. Also probably worth more than everything in my scattered suitcase combined. And on my left hand, my breath caught a ring. Gold band with a diamond that caught the light and threw rainbows across the white sheets. What the hell? The door opened and a woman entered, 50-ish, kind face, wearing an apron that screamed housekeeper rather than family. "Ah, Signor De Luca, you're awake." Her accent was Italian, warm. "I'm Lucia. How are you feeling?" "Signora what?" My voice came out scratchy, confused. "I'm not. My name is Temi. Temi Adebayo." Lucia's smile was patient, almost pitying. "Of course. But here, you are Signora De Luca. The boss will explain." "The boss?" Panic was rising now, cutting through the grogginess. "Where am I? What happened? Why am I wearing—" I held up my hand with the ring. "You collapsed at the gate yesterday. The boss brought you inside. You've been sleeping almost 20 hours. She moved to the window, opened curtains to reveal a view that stole what little breath I had left. Sprawling Texas landscape, manicured gardens, stables in the distance. Wealth. Overwhelming, impossible wealth. "I need to leave," I said, standing on shaky legs. "I need to get to Dallas. Find work. The boss would like to see you first." "Not a suggestion. He's waiting in his study. I've left clothes in the bathroom. Take your time." She left before I could argue. The bathroom was larger than my aunt's entire apartment in Lagos. Marble everything. A shower with 6 different heads. And laid out carefully. Jeans. A simple white blouse. Undergarments in exactly my size. How did they? I dressed quickly, hands trembling, trying not to think about the implications of strange men knowing my measurements. The hallway outside was all dark wood and expensive art paintings I vaguely recognized from art history classes I'd barely afforded. Classical music played softly from hidden speakers. This wasn't just wealth. This was power. A man appeared at the end of the hall, tall, broad, with a gun visible at his hip. "This way, Signora." "I'm not—" I started, but he was already walking. I followed, because what choice did I have? He led me to double doors, knocked once, then opened them without waiting for response. The study was all leather and cigars and masculinity, and behind a massive desk, reading what looked like a legal document, sat the man who'd picked me up from the road. Alessio de Luca. I saw his face properly for the first time, sharp features, dark eyes, the kind of handsome that felt dangerous rather than attractive. Early 30s, dressed casually but expensively. A man who'd never questioned his right to take up space. He looked up, studied me with unsettling intensity. Sit, Temi. He knew my name. I Saturday carefully. On the edge of the chair like I might need to run. You're probably confused, he said calmly, setting down the document. Let me clarify. Yesterday, you collapsed at my gate. My men brought you inside. But before we could get you medical attention privately, you were seen. By neighbors. By people who work for people who hate me. I don't understand. You were photographed entering my property. He pulled out his phone, showed me a grainy image, me unconscious in someone's arms, being carried through those iron gates. By this morning, every criminal in Texas thinks you're my mistress, my weakness, my vulnerability. The words landed like stones. That makes you a target, he continued. So I fixed it. He slid a paper across the desk. Official. Legal. A marriage certificate with both our names. My signature was there. Perfect. Forged. What? No, I didn't. I couldn't breathe properly. You can't just... I can. His voice was quiet, absolute. And I did. As of this morning, you're not my mistress. You're my wife. Publicly. Legally. That makes you untouchable. It's the only way to keep you alive. This is insane. I stood, chair scraping. I didn't consent to this. I didn't agree. You were unconscious. I made an executive decision. He stood too, came around the desk with predatory calm. You have two choices. Temi, stay here, under my protection, as my wife. Or leave, and discover very quickly what my enemies do to women they think I care about. You don't even know me. No. His dark eyes held mine. But now the world thinks I do. That's enough to get you killed. So for your safety, and frankly for mine, he gestured to the ring on my finger. You're Signora De Luca, at least until the threat passes. And when will that be? His smile was slight, sad, terrifying. I'll let you know. 3 days passed in a blur of confusion and luxury I didn't want. I had my own room, though Lucia kept calling it the guest wing like this was temporary. I had clothes that appeared in the closet daily, meals that showed up at regular intervals, and guards who smiled politely while making it very clear I wasn't leaving. It's for your safety, Signora, Joseph would say whenever I asked about going outside. I hated that word. Signora, like I'd actually chosen this. On the 4th morning, I woke to raised voices downstairs. Italian, angry. I crept to the hallway, staying hidden, trying to understand. Scene with a woman. Weakness, Alessio. Lucio already asking questions. The voices cut off when Lucia appeared, shaking her head at me. Come, breakfast. But I'd heard enough. Lucio. A name said with fear. Who's Lucio? I asked as she led me to the kitchen. Her expression closed. No one you need to worry about. Everything here worries me. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, Lucio was the boss's ally once. Now he's his biggest rival. He thinks Alessio has gone soft since coming to Texas. And you... She looked at me with something like pity. You're proof. Proof of what? That he cares about something other than power. The words settled heavy in my chest. That afternoon I tried to leave. Just walked to the front gate like I had every right. Made it maybe 50 yards before Saka materialized from nowhere, blocking my path. Signora, you can't. I'm not actually his wife. This is kidnapping. Outside those gates? Saka's voice was gentle but firm. You don't live to see sunrise. Lucio's men are watching, waiting. The second you're unprotected, they'll take you. Use you against the boss. Why? I don't even know him. Doesn't matter what's true. Matters what they believe. He gestured back toward the house. Please, don't make me carry you. I went back. Because he was right and I knew it. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window, watching Texas darkness, feeling trapped in gold and marble in danger I hadn't asked for. A knock. Soft. It's open, I called, expecting Lucia. Alessio entered instead, holding 2 glasses of wine. He looked tired, human, less like the cold man from the study. Can't sleep either? He asked. Kind of hard to sleep when you're a prisoner. You're not a prisoner. You're protected. Feels the same from where I'm sitting. He was quiet, moved to the other window, stared out at the same darkness. I didn't want this either. The marriage. The complication. Then why? Because letting you die wasn't an option. His voice was rough, honest. I grew up in Sicily, watched my brother get murdered because our family made enemies. I came to Texas to start fresh, build something quieter. Then you collapsed at my gate and... He stopped. And what? And I couldn't just let you die on my property. He turned to me. Maybe that makes me controlling. Maybe it makes me a monster. But you're alive. That has to count for something. It counts, I admitted quietly. I just wish I'd had a choice. I know. He set down the wine, moved toward the door. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. This wasn't how anyone's story should start. After he left, I found myself staring at the wine he'd left behind, and hating that a small part of me understood why he'd done it, why saving me meant claiming me, why in his world, protection and possession were the same thing. A week into my forced marriage, Alessio insisted on dinner together. We should at least pretend to know each other, he said. People are watching. The dining room was absurd table for 12, chandelier that probably cost 6 figures, china that looked like it belonged in a museum. I sat across from him, feeling underdressed despite the designer clothes I hadn't chosen. You don't have to be afraid of me, he said, pouring wine. You forged a marriage certificate and told me I'd die if I left. What part of that shouldn't scare me? His lips curved slightly. Fair point. We ate in silence for a while. Then I asked, why Texas? You're Italian. Why come here? He considered the question, swirling wine in his glass. Sicily became impossible after my brother died. Too many enemies. Too much blood. Texas offered space, anonymity, a chance to rebuild without my family name attached to every move. And that worked? Until you showed up at my gate. But his tone wasn't accusatory, almost amused. I didn't mean to ruin your quiet life. You didn't ruin anything. His eyes met mine. You complicated it. There's a difference. I set down my fork. Can I ask you something honest? Always. Do you actually care if I live or die? Or is this just about protecting your reputation? The question clearly surprised him. He was quiet for a long moment. I lost someone once, he finally said. My fiancée, Elena. We were going to leave Sicily together, start over. But my enemies found out. Used her to get to me. His voice went rough. They killed her slowly, made sure I knew every detail. It's why I left, why I swore I'd never let anyone close again. I'm sorry, I whispered. Don't be. But understand when I saw you collapsed at my gate. Something in me refused to let another woman die because of proximity to me. So yes, Temmie, I care if you live, maybe more than is wise. The confession hung between us, vulnerable and terrifying. Before I could respond, Joseph burst in. Boss, we have a problem. Lucio's men. They're at the perimeter. Alessio was moving before I could process, weapon drawn from somewhere I hadn't seen. Get her to the safe room. What's happening? I stood, fear spiking. Stay inside. He looked at me once, intensity burning. Whatever you hear, don't come out until I come for you. Then he was gone, and I was left standing in a dining room that suddenly felt like the calm before violence. The gunfire started at midnight. I was in my room, not the safe room, because stubborn pride had made me refuse Joseph's escort when the first shots shattered the quiet. Glass breaking, shouting in Italian, the particular chaos of men fighting for their lives. I should have stayed put. Should have hidden under the bed like every survival instinct screamed at me to do. Instead, I crept to the hallway. The house was dark except for muzzle flashes from downstairs. Shadows moving fast. The acrid smell of gunpowder. Where is she? A voice I didn't recognize. Harsh, demanding. Where's DeLuca's wife? My blood went cold. They were here for me. I ran. Not toward the fighting, but away. Down a service hallway Lucia had shown me. Toward the wine cellar. Heavy door. Lock from inside. Safe. I made it down the stairs, slammed the door, threw the bolt, and collapsed against it. Heart hammering so hard I thought it might break ribs. Outside, chaos. Inside, just me and rows of expensive wine and the particular terror of knowing people were trying to kill me. Time did strange things. Could have been minutes. Could have been hours. Then footsteps on the stairs. Testing the door handle. I pressed myself further against the wall, looking for anything that could be a weapon. Found a wine bottle, held it like a club. "Temmie," Alessio's voice, rough, exhausted. "It's me. Open the door." I didn't move. "How do I know it's really you? Because if it wasn't, this door would already be open." A pause. "Please, I need to see you're alive." I unlocked it slowly. He practically fell inside, bleeding from a cut above his eye, shirt torn, weapon still in hand. When he saw me, something in his expression cracked relief so visible it hurt to witness. "You're okay," he breathed. "I'm okay." My voice shook. "What happened?" "Lucio's men. Ambush. We handled it." He moved closer, holstered his weapon, and reached for my face with surprisingly gentle hands. "You should have gone to the safe room. I didn't want to be locked away like someone I'm trying to keep alive." His voice was harsh now, fear translating to anger. "You could have been killed, Temmie. Do you understand that? They came here specifically for you." "Why, I'm nobody." "You're mine." The words came out raw, possessive, unfiltered. "That makes you everything to them. A way to hurt me. A weakness they can exploit." We stood there, too close, breathing hard, the violence upstairs still echoing. "You're bleeding," I whispered, touching near the cut carefully. He caught my hand. "I've had worse. Alessio. I killed 3 men tonight." His eyes held mine. 3 men who came into my home looking for you, and I'd kill 300 more if it meant keeping you safe. Does that scare you?" "It should have. It really should have." "No," I admitted quietly. "It makes me feel—" I couldn't finish. "What?" "Safe." The word was barely audible. "For the first time since I got here, I actually feel safe, and I hate that it's because of violence, because of you." Something shifted in his expression. His hand came up, cupping my face like I was precious, breakable. "You're safe now, cara mia," he murmured. "I promise." And despite everything, the guns, the blood, the forced marriage, I believed him. Morning came with silence that felt wrong. The house was cleaned, no evidence of last night's violence, except for new locks on windows and additional guards patrolling the grounds. Alessio was different, distant. Back to the cold, controlled man from that first meeting in his study. He barely looked at me during breakfast. When I asked if he was okay, he just nodded and left for meetings that apparently couldn't wait. I found myself wandering the house, restless and confused. How could someone cup your face like you mattered, then treat you like furniture the next morning? Lucia found me in the library, staring at books I wasn't reading. "He does this," she said softly. "Gets close, remembers why he shouldn't, and retreats." "Because of Elena?" She nodded. "He loved her completely. When she died, something in him broke. He's terrified of caring that much again, terrified of losing someone else." "So what? I'm supposed to just accept being kept at arm's length? Or you get closer despite his fear?" Lucia's smile was knowing. "You're stronger than you think, Temmie, and he knows it. That's what scares him most." That night, I made a decision. I was done being passive in my own life, even if that life was currently a gilded cage. I went looking for him. Found him in his study, surrounded by papers, glass of whiskey at his elbow. He looked up when I entered, surprise flickering. "You should be sleeping. So should you." I closed the door. "Why are you avoiding me?" "I'm not." "You are." I moved closer, refusing to be intimidated by his space. "Last night you said I was yours. This morning you can barely look at me. What changed?" His jaw tightened. "Last night was adrenaline, fear. I said things. True things? Dangerous things." He stood, putting the desk between us. "You need to understand something, Temmie. Everyone I've ever cared about ends up dead. My brother, my fiancé. Staying distant from you isn't cruelty. It's survival. For both of us. What if I don't want distance?" The question hung between us, brave and stupid and honest. "You don't know what you're asking," he said roughly. "Then explain it to me." I moved around the desk, cutting off his escape. "Explain why saving my life means you can't care about it. Because caring makes you vulnerable." His control finally cracked. "Because the moment my enemies see I actually feel something for you, they'll do to you what they did to Elena. And I can't—" His voice broke. "I can't watch that happen again. I won't survive it twice." I reached for his hand. He flinched but didn't pull away. "So what's the alternative?" I asked quietly. "You keep me locked here, safe and miserable. while we both pretend we don't feel anything. It's better than the alternative. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, we're both already prisoners. You're just calling yours protection. He looked at me, then really looked, and I saw the war in his eyes. Want versus fear, protection versus possession. The impossible choice between keeping me safe and keeping me close. I don't know how to do this, he admitted finally. Care without destroying. Neither do I. I squeezed his hand. But maybe we figure it out together. Or maybe we keep avoiding each other in this big house until one of us goes insane. His lips curved, not quite a smile, but close. You're dangerous, Temi Adebayo. So I've been told. We stood like that, hands linked, neither of us willing to close the final distance, but neither of us willing to let go. It wasn't romance. It wasn't even friendship yet. But it was honest. Real. The first genuine moment between us that wasn't born from crisis or captivity. And when he finally pulled away, murmuring that he had calls to make, I didn't feel rejected. I felt like we'd just started something neither of us knew how to finish. But maybe that was okay. Maybe the best things started messy. 2 weeks of careful distance. 2 weeks of Alessio trying to protect me by staying away. 2 weeks of me going quietly insane in a beautiful house that felt more like a mausoleum than a home. So, when Lucia asked if I wanted to go to the store, actually leave the property for the first time since the gate, I said yes before thinking it through. The boss won't like it, she warned. The boss doesn't have to know. Famous last words. The trip to town was normal, beautifully, boringly normal. Grocery store, people who didn't know or care who I was. 20 minutes of feeling like a regular person instead of a mafia wife in a marriage that wasn't real. We were loading bags into the trunk when the van pulled up. Too fast. Too deliberate. Doors opening before it fully stopped. Lucia's eyes went wide. Run. Hands grabbed me before I could scream. Pulled me into the van with professional efficiency. Door slamming. Van moving before I could process what was happening. I fought, kicked, screamed until someone pressed cloth over my face, chemical sweet, the world going fuzzy at the edges. When I woke, I was tied to a chair in what looked like an abandoned warehouse. Concrete floors, rust, the particular smell of places where bad things happened. A man sat across from me, 50-ish, expensive suit that didn't match the location, smiling like we were old friends. Temi Adebayo, he said in accented English. The famous wife. Finally we meet. Who are you? Lucio Marchetti, old friend of your husband. The way he said friend made it clear they were anything but. He's caused me considerable trouble lately, taking territory, undermining my operations, generally acting like he owns Texas. I don't know anything about his business. Oh, I know. You're just an immigrant who collapsed at the wrong gate. His smile widened. But Alessio doesn't know that. He thinks you matter. That makes you valuable. Fear spiked through me. He won't give you what you want. I'm nobody to him. Is that why he killed 9 men who tried to enter his home? Because you're nobody? Lucio leaned forward. No, Piccola. You're everything. His weakness, his vulnerability, the crack in the armor he's built since Elena died. The mention of her name made my stomach turn. Here's what's going to happen, Lucio continued. I'm going to call Alessio. Tell him I have you. And he's going to choose his empire or his wife, business or love, power or vulnerability. He'll choose power, I said, trying to believe it. Will he? Let's find out. He made the call. Put it on speaker. Alessio answered on the first ring. Lucio. Alessio, I have something of yours. Someone, rather. She's very pretty. Very scared. Would be a shame if something happened to her. Silence. Long enough I thought the call had dropped. Then, if you've hurt her, not yet, but that depends entirely on you. Meet me, alone, within the hour, or I send her back to you in pieces. Done. No hesitation. Absolute. But understand something, Lucio. If she has even a bruise when I arrive, what I do to you will make Elena's death look merciful. The call ended. Lucio smiled. See? You matter. An hour felt like years. I sat tied to the chair, trying not to think about what was coming, trying not to hope that Alessio would actually come. Then gunfire outside. Shouting. The particular chaos of a coordinated assault. Lucio's confidence evaporated. That's impossible. The warehouse doors exploded open. Alessio walked through smoke and chaos like a venging angel, weapon raised, Joseph and Saga flanking him. His men swarmed the building with military precision. It was over in minutes. Lucio's men on the ground. Lucio himself backing away, hands up, stuttering excuses. Alessio didn't even look at him. Just moved straight to me, cutting the ropes with a knife that appeared from nowhere, pulling me up with shaking hands. "Are you hurt?" His voice was wrecked. "Did they touch you?" "I'm okay," I managed. "Alessio, I'm okay." He pulled me against him, arms so tight I could barely breathe, face buried in my hair. "You shouldn't have left," he whispered roughly. "You can't leave, Temmie. Not until—" "I know." I held him back, feeling him tremble. "I know. I'm sorry." When he finally pulled back, his eyes were wet. "You can't keep me in a cage," I said quietly. "Then don't run." His hands framed my face. "Stay because you want to. Stay because—" He stopped, jaw working. "Because what?" "Because I can't lose you." The confession came out broken, honest. "I can't watch another woman." He couldn't finish. Behind him, Joseph cleared his throat. "Boss, we should move." Alessio nodded, but his hand found mine, held tight. As we left the warehouse, I looked back to see Lucio being loaded into a car, bleeding but alive. "You didn't kill him," I observed. "No." Alessio's voice was cold. "But I made sure he'll never forget what happens when someone takes what's mine." Mine. That word again. But this time, it didn't feel like possession. It felt like protection. Like love. We didn't speak on the drive home. Alessio kept my hand in his, thumb tracing patterns on my wrist like he needed constant confirmation I was real, alive, safe. Back at the ranch, he led me not to my room but to his study. Poured 2 glasses of whiskey with shaking hands that betrayed his calm exterior. "Drink," he said. I did. The burn helped. He stood by the window, back to me, tension radiating from every line of his body. "I need to tell you something," he finally said. "And after I do, you'll probably hate me more than you already do." "I don't hate you." "You should." He turned, and the raw emotion in his eyes stole my breath. "The marriage certificate, the forged papers, I told you it was for protection, that my enemies seeing you at my gate made you a target." "Yes." "That was true, but it wasn't the whole truth." He moved closer, each step deliberate. "The moment I saw you collapsed on that road, something in me—" He stopped, jaw working. "Something I thought was dead woke up. You looked so vulnerable, so brave, fighting to reach my gate even as your body was giving up. Alessio, I could have sent you to a hospital, could have made sure you were safe without claiming you, but I didn't want to. The confession came out rough, honest. I wanted you in my house, under my protection, close enough that I could—" He laughed bitterly. "God, I sound insane." "You sound human," I said quietly. "I forged those papers not just for your safety," his eyes held mine, "but because I couldn't bear the thought of you leaving, of you disappearing back into the world before I understood why you made me feel something again." The words hung between us, vulnerable and terrifying. "So what?" I stood, moving closer. "You've kept me prisoner because of feelings you can't explain?" "Yes. No defense, just honesty. And I'm sorry. You deserve choice, agency, the chance to build your life without being trapped in mine. Then give me that choice now." He flinched. "What?" "I'm asking you, Alessio De Luca, to give me the choice you took away." I was close enough now to see the fear in his eyes. "Tell me honestly, what do you want from me?" "Everything." The word came out broken. "I want you to stay. Not because you're afraid to leave or because papers say you're my wife, but because you choose it. Choose me, even though I'm dangerous and controlling and completely wrong for someone like you. Someone like me? Innocent, good, worthy of a normal life with a normal man who won't drag you into violence and darkness." I reached for his face, made him look at me. What if I don't want normal? What if I've spent my whole life being safe and careful and it got me nowhere? What if collapsing at your gate was the first real thing that's ever happened to me? "Temmie, I'm choosing," I interrupted. "Right now, I'm choosing to stay. Not because I'm trapped, not because of papers or threats or fear, but because—" I took a breath. "Because you make me feel like I matter, like I'm worth protecting, worth fighting for, worth— loving?" His voice was barely audible. "Yes, he kissed me. Not gentle, not asking permission, just claiming with desperate certainty, hands in my hair, pulling me against him like I was oxygen and he'd been drowning. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to mine. "I can't promise I'll be easy to love," he whispered. "I don't want easy." I kissed him again, softer. "I want real. I want you. You have me." His arms wrapped around me, holding tight. "You've had me since the moment I saw you fighting to reach my gate. I just didn't know how to admit it." We stood like that, wrapped together, both of us shaking, both of us finally honest while Texas night settled around the ranch, and for the first time since I'd woken in silk sheets, I felt like I'd finally come home. Not to a place, to a person, the most dangerous person I'd ever met. And somehow, that felt exactly right. 3 months passed. 3 months of learning what it meant to actually be with Alessio. Not as his captive, not as his forged wife, but as his partner. He taught me about his world, the business, the danger, the careful balance of power that kept him alive. I taught him about my Nigeria, my dreams, the stubborn hope that had made me cross an ocean looking for something better. We fought. God, we fought. About his overprotectiveness, about my independence, about whether I needed 3 guards to go to the grocery store. His position. Yes, mine. Absolutely not. But we also laughed, talked, learned each other's rhythms, fell in love properly, slowly, the kind that built foundations instead of just burning bright. One morning, he woke me early. "Get dressed," he said. "Something nice. We're going somewhere." "Where?" His smile was mysterious. "You'll see." We drove for 30 minutes into Texas countryside, leaving the ranch and city behind. Finally stopped at a small white chapel sitting alone among wildflowers, bathed in golden morning light. It was beautiful, untouched, perfect. "What is this?" I asked as he led me inside. "The real thing." He turned to face me, taking both my hands. "The papers I forged, they kept you safe. They gave us time, but they weren't real, not in any way that matters." My heart started racing. "I want to do this right, Temmie." His voice was steady, but his hands trembled slightly. "I want you to have the choice I took away. The ceremony you deserved. The chance to say yes or no with full knowledge of what you're choosing. Alessio, I love you. Simple. Absolute. I love your stubbornness and your strength and the way you challenge me every single day. I love that you're not afraid of my world but refuse to let it define you. I love that you make me want to be better than what I am." Tears were burning my eyes now. "So I'm asking properly this time." He pulled a new ring from his pocket, different from the forged one, more beautiful, clearly chosen with care. "Temmie Adebayo, will you marry me? For real this time. With choice and ceremony and everything you deserved from the beginning." I looked at this man, this dangerous, protective, surprisingly gentle man who'd saved my life by claiming it, then given it back by asking me to choose him. "The day I collapsed at your gate," I said quietly, "I thought my life was ending. I thought I'd come all this way just to die on a road in a country that didn't want me. Temmie, I didn't know my life was actually beginning." I squeezed his hands. "I didn't know that falling at your gate meant falling into the arms of the only person who'd ever fight for me, protect me, love me despite all the reasons he tried not to. Is that a yes?" "It's a yes." I laughed through tears. "Yes, I'll marry you. For real this time. With full knowledge that you're bossy and overprotective and will probably drive me insane." He kissed me before I could finish, both of us laughing and crying and holding each other in a chapel that witnessed what the forged papers never could. Real choice. Real love. Real beginning. The ceremony was simple. Just us, a priest Alessio had somehow found, and Joseph as witness grinning like he'd personally orchestrated this love story. When Alessio slipped the new ring on my finger and said, "With this, I choose you," I finally understood. This was never about possession. It was about protection transforming into partnership, captivity becoming choice, fear learning to love again. Afterwards, as we stood outside the chapel watching the sun climb higher, he pulled me close. "Any regrets?" he asked. I thought about it. About the girl who'd collapsed at his gate 3 months ago, broke, desperate, fighting for survival. About everything that had happened since, the fear, the confusion, the slow burn of falling for someone who should have been all wrong. "None," I said honestly. "Do you?" "Only one." His arms tightened around me. "That I didn't find you sooner. We drove back to the ranch that was now actually our home. Past the iron gates where it all started. Past the spot where I'd fallen and he'd decided I was his. And as we pulled through those gates, the ones that had once felt like a cage but now felt like sanctuary, I realized something. I'd come to Texas looking for a fresh start. I'd found so much more. I'd found the man who'd teach me that sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected places. That sometimes the gate you almost die reaching becomes the doorway to everything you never knew you needed. That sometimes fainting at a stranger's feet is actually destiny wearing a disguise. And that the most dangerous man in Texas was also the safest place I'd ever known. 1 year later, I stood at those same iron gates, this time walking out freely, on my way to the immigration office for my citizenship interview. Alessio leaned against his car, watching me with the particular intensity he'd never quite lost. "Nervous?" he asked. "Terrified," I admitted. "You'll be brilliant," he pulled me close. "You survived collapsing on a Texas highway. You survived being accidentally married to a Mafia boss. I think you can handle a citizenship test." I laughed. "When you put it that way. Besides," his hand rested on my still flat stomach, where our daughter was just beginning to make herself known. "She's going to need you to be official." "She?" "Intuition." His smile was soft. "And if I'm right, we're naming her Elena. For his sister. For the woman who'd taught him to love before fear took over." "Elena it is," I agreed. As we drove toward the city, I looked back at the ranch one more time. At the gates that had changed everything. Where I'd fallen as a stranger and risen as family. Where I'd learned that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is collapse at the right person's gate. And trust them to catch you. Forever. If you believe that sometimes falling at the right person's gate is destiny in disguise, and that the most dangerous kind of love is the one that saves you while claiming you, like and share this story. Subscribe now for more stories like this. Also, check out the 2 videos showing on the screen right now, specially crafted for you.